do this over.
Okay, start.
Okay, because I feel like we didn't do an intro.
You're here.
Here's our intro.
Because you went to Kroll's Corner.
Welcome. Here's our birth story for Arya.
Okay. She's right there.
Yeah. She's trying to nap.
Okay, start over.
Okay. Welcome. Where am I starting?
You're going to start with us getting pregnant, low pap A, and anterior placenta, because that's going to lead up to everything else. So
they told me in September, they called and told me I had low pap A and that I need to take baby aspirin. They're like, really no cause of concern. They're going to monitor everything. No.
We found out about that in July at Tahoe. At Ryan's wedding.
That was in September.
It was in July.
No, it wasn't. It was in September.
We're going to have to fact check this. Oh, it was in September. No, it was August.
It was September.
I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, keep going.
Okay. So I have low pap A and an anterior placenta, so the placenta sits in front. So knowing that, when I got into my third trimester in January, they started to send me to get a non-stress test, NSTs, so that tracks the fetal heart rate and any contractions, any possible contractions I could be having, which I'm so happy that they sent me to go do those because of the low pap A, because that's how we found out that there's an issue, which we'll get to. So I'm going to my non-stress tests. Back up. Do you want to talk about what happened?
Okay, so January 30th, I play 18 rounds of golf with my friend. I get kind of tired. Mm-hmm. And then that night, we go over to family member's house, and I make dinner for everybody, of course.
We had broccoli beef.
Broccoli beef. And
it's on the blog.
Holding my nephew, breathing in his face, just, having a good time. And then didn't end up eating much because I just felt tired, and I guess just lost my appetite.
I was like, babe, what's wrong? Like, he usually destroys,
Yeah. Are you calling me fat?
No, I'm just saying you usually have a big appetite.
Yeah, sure. Okay. And so an hour and a half after we get home from dinner, I spike a fever. And the kind of fever where, like, I'm in bed, I put on thermal pants, a thermal top, and I'm in bed just, like, shivering. Like, any air comes in, my whole body shivers, and I go, oh, great. So that night, I schedule a COVID test for the next morning. And
a rapid one.
Yeah. Just down the street. And so my fever breaks. So the test was 9 a.m. My fever broke at like 8:30, and I felt so much better. Just way better. Almost questioning if I should go get the test. Mm-hmm. But Ton said, let's go ahead, go get the test. And sure enough, go there. 30 minutes after, I get a text message saying, you're going to be receiving an email with your positive COVID results. So it wasn't even, no surprise. So then they called me and said, we have some more news for you. You tested positive for flu type A. So I had the flu and COVID. And so that was January 31st. Then...
which was a Sunday.
Right. February 1st, Ton has a 4:30 appointment, ultrasound for the kiddo.
Yeah, I had an ultrasound because since baby was tracking small, they just wanted to do extra monitoring to make sure everything really did look good in there. And the appointment went really well. Like, I left the appointment with great news. They said baby's healthy, everything looks great. And I came home feeling just reassured and really happy and grateful, thankful, all the things, And, we're thinking, all right, we have 4 weeks until the baby's coming and everything's good and healthy. So...
other than, like, I have COVID,
other than us freaking out with that.
And thinking that, like, hoping that she doesn't get COVID and it doesn't affect the baby, because, like, you have no idea what's going to happen.
For some reason in my head, I was like, I'm not going to get it. Like...
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, you're super healthy, whatever.
I just thought, well, I guess we just ruined a part.
Wait, what?
Because in my head, I was like, I'm not going to get it.
Oh, well, freaking... Anyways. So...
Spoiler.
So, 7:30 a.m. on February 2nd is her NST. You go to your NST.
So I go to Clovis Community Hospital, and yeah, the appointment's at 7:30 a.m. Just routine thing. Like, I think this is my second or third week going, and you go twice a week. So I was just going for my normal routine visit. Takes like 20-25 minutes. You get in and out. Well, since I was exposed to COVID through Cameron, I had to...
You're welcome.
Obviously let the hospital know, and so they took me, they said they were going to take me into a separate room, but where they ended up taking me was to labor and delivery, to an isolated COVID room there. So I'm there in the room, and they hook me up to the machine, and after 20-ish minutes...
Well, right before that, you had texted me that you weren't feeling good at 7:32. Like, literally right when you got there, you text me, hey, not feeling that great.
Yeah, that's important to note that. Even the night before, I was like, am I in my head about this? Like, I don't feel the best.
You're like tired and like stuffy.
Yeah, and I kind of had a headache. And yeah, and then the next morning when I go to NST, I was like achy. I remember texting Cameron just like, I don't feel good. Like, I feel achy. And so I was planning on, after getting my NST done, I had scheduled to go get a rapid test where Cameron got his rapid test.
At 9, I think.
9 a.m. So, anyways, I'm at the NST. I'm probably all hooked up to the machines by 8 a.m. And the nurse comes in and lets me know that they are going to do some additional monitoring. And I've been told that this can happen if they see something that looks a little off. You know, the doctor wants you to stay a little bit longer to make sure nothing serious is going on. So, they keep me there.
I text you like an hour later, like, hey, are you okay? Because she usually comes home... like 30 minutes after, like at home. So that's a 10-minute drive. It's like 20 minutes long.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's not like not a big deal.
So anyways, she comes in and she lets me know that they have been noticing some fetal heart decelerations. So the baby's fetal heart rate is dropping at the end of contractions, which is not normal. They don't want to be seeing that. So they want to keep me a little bit longer to make sure it doesn't continue to happen, because maybe if it just happened 1 or 2 times, it's okay. But if it continued to happen more, then there would be reason for concern. So at this point, I think it's like 10-ish.
No, yeah, okay, yeah. Like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and you're like, all right, I had another round of decels, so doc is going to come in.
Yeah, so since I was having more decels, they brought No, they didn't bring the doctor in yet. It got scary. So here's where it was like Grey's Anatomy status. She came in, the nurse came in, and I was on my back for the NST, and she was like kind of calm, but also kind of anxious. Like, I could tell something wasn't right. So I was on my back, so she was like, we're gonna do some different positions here with you. So she flipped me onto my left side. She was positioning the stuff on my belly and then looking at the monitor. She didn't like what she was saying, so we flipped onto my right side. She didn't like what she was saying. And then, gonna cry. So then she calls in like 4 nurses. So they come running in, and it's like getting scary, you know? And
running in? Run in?
They did.
Oh.
They did. They like came in really quick, and she was like, the main nurse that was working with me was kind of, you know, giving all of her orders out. She told me, okay, hon, we're going to flip you on hands and knees. So like doggy style.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I'm on my hands and knees. I'm like facing the back wall. And at this point, I'm like hyperventilating because she's not seeing what she wants to, right? So we're not getting the results of what she's wanting. And then a nurse comes around to my side, and she just straight up tells me, you're going to be induced today. Like, you're having this baby today because of all the
decelerations. Yeah.
And then there's another nurse on my other side putting an oxygen mask on me, telling me to breathe, and I'm freaking out because this was just my biggest fear. Like, the whole time with COVID, it was just like my biggest fear, you know, that he was gonna be sick or not able to be at the appointment. I mean, not be able to be at the birth of our freaking first baby. So,
you didn't even get far.
I know,
look at you.
I know. So much for putting mascara on, right? So anyways, she's like telling me I'm gonna have this baby today. Cameron has COVID, putting the mask on me, telling me to breathe, and I'm not breathing properly. So she's like, take deep breaths, and I'm trying. So then, oh yeah, when I'm in doggy position like that, they take my pants off and my underwear. I still at this point don't know why they had to do that while I was in that position, but they took my pants and underwear off, and then they flipped me over.
Oh, maybe they were checking how dilated you were? I don't know.
They did that. They checked my cervix to see if I was at all dilated, like...
Trying to pretend I'm a doctor.
Like 10 minutes later. So I was like just chilling with my pants off for a while, but that was really painful because I was not dilated at all. They go up in there. So anyways, yeah, so now I'm like calling Cameron, telling him what's going on, and he's at home with COVID, not feeling great. And
well, and then there's two, like, so also we don't know if you have COVID, and they hadn't tested you yet.
Right.
They tested you at like 10:30 or 11. They said it could be up to 12 hours.
Yeah.
To get it back, right?
Yeah, so you know, I was gonna go planning on getting my COVID test afterwards, but the hospital's like, obviously we need to do this here. We're admitting you. So they did my swab, and then they said it could take anywhere from like 2 hours to 12 hours.
Yeah.
And so it was really challenging because if they were going to induce me, I wanted to know if I was going to be able to have anyone there with me. So I was trying to arrange who that person would be, but then we couldn't plan too much because if my COVID test came back positive,
it wouldn't matter anyways.
I couldn't have anyone there with me.
And also, I was with her mom that Saturday night, so she was exposed. So we didn't know if her mom was going to be able to be with her,
right?
Or if my mom, who hadn't been exposed to anybody, would be there. And we're just like tossing up like all these just trying to figure out what's going to happen. And then me like calling my mom and telling her like I'm not gonna be able to see the birth of my child, which is like pretty surreal because like this whole time we've been trying to, if I ever went to a meeting, I wore a mask, I always washed my hands, like I was the guy with blue gloves at a gas station.
I just feel like all of 2020 and this year in 2021 as well, we were like the most cautious. Like, yeah, we saw
taking a ton of vitamin D, taking zinc, like doing all this stuff that we.
Because this was
trying
really,
to be right. I don't know.
This was really my ultimate fear, our ultimate fear. I would tell him more often than not, like, what if? And he says, babe, you can't think like that.
There's no way it's going to happen. There's no way it's going to happen.
Anyways, my test comes back positive. And
what time was that? Like 3. It was later. It wasn't early. It wasn't early.
Okay, so at this point, the doctor has been coming in and the nurses, and everyone's tossing up C-section or being induced, and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even plan to have a C-section. I don't know anything about it, you know. So they decide to induce me around 1:30. They put I forget what medicine, but they stuck it up in me, and they said if it takes 12 hours, or it can take up to 12 hours for me to start seeing anything. I remember I started to feel really mild contractions.
That's what it was. Yeah, because I was trying to plan it out because they said it would be 12 hours and then check on you. So I remember it's going to be middle of the night, so it sounds like 1:30 in the morning or 2 in the morning. I think it's like 2.
Yeah.
And then they said after that, it could take another 24 to 48 hours for baby to come. So then I'm sitting here. It was Tuesday.
Like a baby could be here on Friday or something.
That's right. Yeah, because it was going to be that morning, and then could be 2 days after because it'd be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah.
So they induced me, and then I was still hooked up to the NST. So they're still tracking, of course, baby's heart rate because of the decels. And what they didn't like that they were seeing, especially the doctor, he came in and he told me that while I was being induced, they started to see more decels, more than they like to see, and we needed to take kind of like immediate action. So
it was emergency C-section. He said there's no other choice. We're doing it.
And he said if you were my wife, like in the hospital right now, I would tell her to move forward with the C-section. So I was like, obviously you're the doctor, you know best. So let's do the C-section. Plus, we talked about this later. I'm kind of like happy that I went with the C-section, or that he recommended that, because I didn't want to be in labor alone for
3 days.
Possibly 3 days. You know, we don't know how long it could have taken, but that just sounded scarier.
Well, and we wanted to be able to have control of the baby make sure that she was healthy.
Right. We didn't know if, because of the decels, if baby was going to be a NICU baby, and she's a late term preemie, so so many things were running through our mind. So at this point, I think it's like 4-ish or 5.
Yeah, right around there.
And the doctor's like, there's one girl getting a C-section right now, and you're like next up in line. So I was like mentally prepared, like, oh my God, And how are you feeling at that point?
I don't know. It's just surreal.
It's like all a blur.
It's surreal. It's like you're thinking back to it. Like I really wasn't super sick at this point with COVID. Like I have asthma, and so I guess flu and COVID, but I was tired, and so I'm like, and all the adrenaline was in me, so I wasn't really feeling much in terms of like sickness wise. I was like calling family members, calling friends, letting everybody know. Dropped work. Well, obviously, like just wasn't thinking about work at all, and yeah, I don't know. I think it was like 5 o'clock, and everybody's just like, "What can we do for you? What can we do for you?" And you're just like, have friends sit in the driveway to be with you, and like
I was like, he's all alone. Yeah. It was really sad.
Well, I was like, you're the one that's alone. I mean, ish. I mean, I guess you have doctors and stuff around you, but
I was like nonstop crying. The nurse was like bringing me tissues, and like I couldn't control anything. It was sad.
I think having waited, I mean, time does everything, so it's a lot easier to. I mean, had we been talking about this like a week after, this wouldn't be that easy. I mean, we're almost a month.
I know.
It's coming up on a month after.
Still, like, really, I don't like thinking about it. Like, if I think about it too long, like, I'll, cry again. But we go forward with the C-section.
That's right.
And
not we. It's just like you. Like you're go forward, and then I'm trying to figure out. The nurse goes, "There's a possibility that we can FaceTime." And so I didn't know if it was going to be Tawny's phone or the nurse's phone. I gave everybody my phone number. And I'm like, we're on FaceTime. I'm yelling at the nurse as if they don't have this written down. I'm like, it's an anterior placenta. Make sure they don't bleed out. And I'm like, being super dramatic because we have watched too much TV. And I did the whole thing. I was like, all right, first of all, we can have another baby. So if it's baby or wife, save my wife. Like, this. Yeah. It was so dramatic because I had no idea. I had no plan, no anything. I'm like sitting there like, what can happen? And I like to just know everything. And I didn't know anything. And the nurses are like, your husband's like, they're almost like laughing, but like in like a endearing way, like he cares about you. But I'm like on my side, like, all right, yeah, take care of her, and like if anything, save my wife because like she's the most important. We can have more kids. It doesn't matter, everything. Yeah. So I got pretty dramatic at that point, but I had no idea what was going on. My mom was calling, like my mom basically just, my grandma was. Like, I'm going to come be with you. And I'm like, no, you're not. I have COVID. Like, you're 84 years old. Like, no.
That was really sweet.
Well, that was everybody was really great. Family is amazing. And that's the point of this, right? We're having this to have family. And so that was the whole point. And so I think it was like 6:30 that you were going. 7 o'clock. They said she's going in at 7. And you went in just a little bit before that.
Mm-hmm. And the nurses were so great. Like, I just felt like I was like that icky COVID girl that no one wanted to be around, but the nurses, especially during this part of my hospital stay, were really there for me. I remember when I got the spinal tap, I thought it was going to be like the worst pain in the world, but you have to so the nurse was standing like right in front of me, and you have to like curl your spine and like kind of like hunch over, and I just remember her like holding my hands. She was like, squeeze as hard as you want. It really wasn't that bad. I don't think. Maybe it was all the medicine I was on, but the nurses were great.
Oh, and you were strep B positive, so they gave you penicillin as well. So you had a lot of stuff in you. So
Cameron was able to be on FaceTime during.
They did FaceTime me
during the procedure in the OR. So I think that was really special that they were able to do that.
Well, the whole thing too was like the biggest thing for me was like we had waited 9 months to find out the gender of our child, and that was one of the biggest things that we had. Like, I mean, everybody thinks this, or maybe not everybody, but I always wanted to, like, run into the middle of the hallway, like, my whole family there, and be like, it's a whatever, and, like, everybody cheering, and, like, other people standing around, like, wow, this is dramatic, like, it's a movie, and then I'm sitting on the couch watching my daughter being born, and my wife, like, sitting there, and the nurse, is, like, pointing the phone at her, and Tawny's, like, laying on her side, and, like, getting like moving because of the freaking C-section, and
I just remember
it's
like
just dramatic.
in the procedure, I just had my eyes closed because if you've ever had a C-section, it is the weirdest feeling in the world. You're numb, but you can feel like tugging and pulling at your skin, but like no pain. So I just had to close my eyes and focus and just like pray that Arya was going to, well, I didn't know she was Arya at the time, but that baby was going to come out healthy. And I remember the nurse like pointing the phone at me to like look at you, and I was just like, I'm just so in the zone, but I love you. Like it was just so weird. He was there, but obviously wasn't.
Thank God for technology.
Yeah, it was really sweet that they were able to do that though. So Arya was born.
And then like 30 seconds, no crying, and they're like, she just I don't. And this is the whole thing. Like the video, I screen recorded the Facetime because I wanted to save that for us.
On it.
It didn't save the audio, and I don't know if that's by design or I have no idea why it didn't save the audio. But they were like, "We're warming her up, or she's just getting going."
They said she's because I was like, "Why isn't my baby crying?"
Yeah.
And the nurses came and said she's just getting accustomed to the world. Like, give her a second, which. It felt like a really long time, but it was probably like 30 seconds to a minute. I don't remember, but she started crying, and I was like, oh, thank God.
And he yelled, "It's a girl."
Yeah,
we're all over the place, but it was just like my brain is just yeah. And then we were able to see her, and that night after everything was, after she was brought back to her room. The nurses told me how to go see her, and so I drove there
because I was still in that same labor and delivery room, and in that room there was a large window that people could walk up to, so I could have visitors through the window, COVID style.
Well, they didn't. The nurses were super cool because they were like, you were like, "Oh, can my husband come? He's COVID positive," and they were like, "He can't come." Like if he
wink,
shows
wink.
up at the window with a mask, he might just look like anybody else trying to see you.
Yeah.
And I drove up, and the nurse that actually was there with her the whole time during the delivery was walking out of the door, and I'm walking up kind of, and she goes, "Oh, Cameron," and then she like backs up and realizes like he's COVID positive, but she was super sweet. She was like right over there. And they held Arya up to the window, and I mean, all the emotions. I cried a bunch that day. I'm doing pretty good right now, just because the time has been able to let me like sink into everything. But I mean that I would say that.
I just think overall we're obviously super thankful that we have a healthy baby girl. I mean, I think that was a big fear of ours that, she was going to be a NICU baby. We didn't know what the decels.
And we told the whole low PAP-A story previously because we've had a lot of people say that was COVID the reason that you had the emergency C-section, and that that had nothing to do with it. It was already...
The doctor straight up said that it wasn't because of COVID.
That's right.
It was something to do with the placenta being attached to the cervix, something with the placenta and the cervix. I was in a fog. I don't really remember, but he said it wasn't related to me being COVID positive. So yeah, I'm happy she's healthy. And
then for the next 5 days ish, if we held her at our house.
Oh yeah, we had to wear masks.
We wore a mask just so we weren't breathing extra particles in her face.
Because we were wondering, since we were both COVID positive, if we had to isolate from Arya, like how was that going to work, right? But our pediatrician told us,
who's a rock star. He made us feel really good. Let us know that he had other women that were COVID positive with babies, and the belief is that the antibodies through breastfeeding help shield the baby. And I mean, if she was going to get COVID, I mean, this house was just covered in me.
Yeah.
I ended up actually getting kind of sick, and so like I was coughing a lot, and
so we were able to bring her home, and we just both had to wear masks, which was really weird. Breastfeeding a baby with a mask, trying to cuddle your baby with a mask on. It was really hard that first week home.
Just surreal. Like you're just like laying in bed with a mask, with this little girl on
she
top
was like
of you.
4 pounds, 11 ounces, I think, when we brought her home. So she was really tiny. But that's the story. So COVID.
That was pretty long.
We hate you.
Yeah, it was super unfortunate. I mean, if I had anything to tell anybody, I mean, the whole thing of how politicized and everything COVID is, and at the end of the day, for us, like, we're healthy. You know, nobody, you know, we got through it and everything, but it was really an inconvenience. I mean, it stopped me from being able to see the birth of my child, which, and hold my wife's hand through all of it. And so, I mean, which is pretty unfortunate because I wanted to be there for my best friend to see our baby be born. But yeah, I know it's
I'm gonna cry again.
Yeah, but we're healthy. That's the most important part. We're healthy. We're happy. We have each other. We have this little nugget who's sleeping right here. I'd bring her up, but
I'm like,
we're
how
trying
is she
to
still sleeping?
sleep.
He's talking so loud.
She has to learn. I've got a loud voice, so whether she likes it or not, she's gonna have to learn to be around me. But
we just hope for baby number 2, all of this is over.
Yeah,
it'll be over.
But to tell people that, like, at the end of the day, we were super silent on social media in terms of like what happened, and we didn't want. We just didn't want people to.
It's just been hard to bring up, and I think we just needed time to process and heal, and just
focus on our health and our baby.
Yeah, I mean,
and get everything back going. I mean, it was like anything else. Anybody else that has their first baby, you're like, wow, they don't sleep often, or like they sleep during the day, and then at night they're like, hey, is this the day?
Yeah,
and they stay up,
it's just been really chaotic and emotional, and all the newborn things. But we're happy to finally share this with you guys, and
if you made it this far, thank you.
If you made
this
is
far. Long, but we're happy to have. We want to thank our family and everything. I mean, it's just family's been the most important.
All of our family and friends. I mean, everyone's been so great. So if you have contributed to a meal or a gift, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
And then just all the messages in this Instagram community, Facebook community. I appreciate, and I've read every single one. I'm sorry if I didn't reply to you, but I do appreciate all the kind words, and we all 3 of us now are super grateful for that. So yeah.
You want to wrap it up?
Wrap it up. This is us wrapping up.
That was it. So thank you so much.
Okay, bye.